it's Elizabeth J with an S and
Helen Musira hanging out together.
And your YouTube channel is?
Hanging Out with Helen.
So today, as we enter our second week of social distancing, my sister, who lives all the way in the United States, has challenged her friends on Facebook to do a baking
challenge.
A baking challenge? Yeah.
Yes.
So what are we going to bake? We're baking Pennsylvania Dutch crumb cake. So we decided to share our process, and I'll post the photo in the video so you can also join us in the challenge.
Let us challenge someone. Who should we challenge?
What are you saying?
We should challenge.
We're challenging everybody, whoever sees the video.
Oh, so we are challenging everyone who sees this video. You have to do it, and you have also to challenge
someone else.
Someone else.
Yeah.
First of all, we wash our hands because we are in the period of washing hands. So I'm going to wash my hands, and when you are washing your hands, you have to wash for 20 seconds. So this is how the World Health Organization said we wash. You make sure you wash every finger. So wash. I guess that's 20 seconds. Rinse. Make sure you rinse well. Yes, I think that's good. And then you use paper towel, because then you can throw the paper towel. We don't use towels for this period of the virus. So my hands are clean. I can't touch anything else apart from now starting to cook.
Okay, so the recipe that we're going to do is the modified buttermilk version, buttermilk crumb cake recipe. So for that you need to have baking powder and baking soda, vanilla, salt, flour, sugar, butter. I mean, you could use your version of butter, but we're gonna go for the real deal. Salt, eggs, and sour milk or buttermilk, whichever one you have. And we have sour milk. Okay, so we are going to be doing 3 cups of flour, and we are just going to, it says to sift, we're going to do our version of sifting, which we use a finely, what is it? Strainer, a fine strainer. We do have another sifter, but it's one of those old-fashioned ones that hurt your wrist after you've been using it 5 minutes. So yeah, that one. Show them how it works. You do that, and it's a pain in the neck. So you can talk, you know. Anyway, so here we are sifting the 3 cups of flour through the baking strainer that we use to sift.
So because we are baking it in Kenya, we add the extra flour. So for every cup, you add 2 tablespoons of flour. So because we used 3 cups, we will add 6 tablespoons.
Okay, and that is because of altitude. If we don't make the cake a little bit more dense, it will fall. It will be too moist for the altitude for Nairobi. So we do that for everything, bread and cakes of whatever variety.
So how much baking soda?
Okay, so for this version, it says decrease, okay, So it's 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda.
Oh, so one of these.
Yeah, 1 of baking soda and 2. What? Yeah.
A teaspoon, right?
Teaspoon. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Because 3 teaspoons is 1 tablespoon.
Okay, Elizabeth. Baking powder. How many?
2.
Okay. This is for the our version of buttermilk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the original recipe is 1 tablespoon of baking powder, but for this version it says reduced by 1 teaspoon.
Okay.
And replace with baking powder.
Because
soda.
Do you know why?
No.
Because
Explain to us, novices.
Because if you are using sour milk or buttermilk in a recipe, you have to use baking soda, because that's how baking soda activates the milk in the cake or in your baking good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's done. See what you did.
Oh, I didn't even realize there was another bowl in there. Oopsie. So it's flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and sugar. Salt is a teaspoon and sugar is 1.5 cups.
Salt is a teaspoon.
Yep.
And sugar?
1.5 cups.
Okay. I guess we are motivating ourselves not to be bored. Then eating. Stay with us. Only the eating part we do. So that's 1.5. You mix, mix, mix. Next.
Okay, so I am going to be doing the butter, and it's 1/2 cup to 2/3 of a cup of butter. So we're going to start with 1/2 cup, and I'm going to use this device called a pastry blender to blend the butter into the flour mixture. So we've chopped our butter into, and I've washed my hands, into pieces like this. So I'm just going to put all of that in. Actually, I think we're going to need more butter than 1/2 cup. So let's just add it now. Butter is life. An idea that you could do is let your butter be at room temperature, so it's a little softer. Oh, this is quite chilled, which you don't want it to be like melted, but it's easier to blend. So. Okay, so this is how you use the pastry blender. I remember in the olden days, before we knew of such a device, when my mother was making pie crust, she would use 2 knives and basically cut like this into her flour.
You can use 2 knives if you want.
I know, but this is better because it's like 5 or 6 knives at one time. And now I think she just uses like the uses a food processor.
You can also use forks. A strong fork, like a nice fork.
Yeah, but I think this gives you like that. It's, I don't know. I like the manual version, but I know some people are interested in speed. So this is pastry blending. You basically are cutting the butter into small, teeny chunks so it gets incorporated into the flour but is not melted. It's like solid, so that way that's going to create the pastry.
It has to look like coarse, like.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what it kind of looks like at this point. So you've got the flour stuck to chunks of butter.
So sometimes it's just good to really, because we want to get it as coarse as possible. So you can use your fingers to just rub, like you can rub like this so that you get the bigger parts of butter like really small, because this thing is a bit bigger. So I'm just trying to make it really coarse. So as you can see, it's like you can't see any butter.
That's how I say it. It's butter, baby.
Butter, baby.
All right, so now we need to take 1.5 cups of this mixture and put it on the side. So we'll put it in this bowl.
Why are we putting it on the side?
It is going to be our crumb top.
Okay.
So
Two.
okay. So now you are going to combine eggs, milk, and vanilla and stir into the dry blend. So here is our milk, our vanilla, and eggs.
How much milk?
Milk is 1 cup of milk. The 3 eggs are on the counter, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla.
Use a fork. Don't do it like I do. I'm a chef. How much?
2 teaspoons.
Okay.
So 1 cupful is how many teaspoons?
1 cupful is 1 teaspoon. You don't have to
dirty a teaspoon.
Yeah. Stir?
It says stir, yes.
We use a wooden spoon.
Okay, transitioning to a wooden spoon. Okay, now the proper baking procedure is to mix all the wet ingredients together first separately, but since we want to reduce the amount of washing that we have, we just kind of do it this way, since we're already dirtying 2 bowls in this process. Okay, so Helen is getting ready to pour the batter into the pan. Now the recipe calls for 2 pie plates, but because our oven is a little small, we can't cook the 2 pie plates at the same time. So we've decided to go with a 9x13 rectangular pan, and we'll cut the cake into squares, which is perfectly fine. So are we getting the batter in? It says to well grease it with butter, but I've just sprayed it with you know, the spray. So this is our Sunday breakfast, although it'll be more like Sunday brunch by the time it finishes cooking.
Yeah, more like brunch. And then lunch will be what? Late lunch? Dinner? What? Oh, this is going to be a big cake.
We'll have to invite someone over to help us eat it.
Yeah.
But no! Social distancing!
Oh, yes!
Self-isolation! Darn, we'll just have to eat the whole thing ourselves.
More for me.
Okay, so the next step is what, Helen?
We are brushing the dough with butter which we will use ghee because, and it's difficult to do it.
You have to maybe dab it on.
Yeah.
So basically, ghee is clarified butter, for those of you who don't know what ghee is, but it's sold in the supermarkets here because it's used often, especially by certain cultural groups that live in Kenya. So it is a commodity to be sold. So yeah, so you don't have to clarify your own butter. You just buy a tub of it like this, and yeah. So
I think this is good.
Yeah. Now just brush it lightly.
It is hard, guys, because this is wet dough. So for you to be able to brush butter on it, you have to be very light-handed, and I'm not, so I'm trying.
I think it looks fine.
That's good.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, then next step.
Next step, remember we saved our crumbed flour mixture, so we are going to use this as our topping, right? So you have to make sure it's evenly distributed. Remember, it was just 1.5. Now it's looking to be really a lot.
Okay, so the next time that you see this cake, it will be out of the oven, and we will proceed with the taste test. So it needs to cook in a 350-degree oven, which is Fahrenheit. If you live in the UK or elsewhere, that's 180-degree Celsius oven for about half an hour, or until the cake is done, and it depends on your oven. We have a gas oven, and it has issues, so we basically turn the gas on as high as we can. Here's our oven. And let it cook, and then we see what happens.
And we have the temperature if you just want to be sure. So as we are warming the oven, we are checking also the temperature.
Yeah. So here's the cake out of the oven, with a few little tests to make sure it was fully cooked. Now we're going to sample.
A few moments later.